Dick being on the East Coast, his interest in makeup happened when he was in college. And he would call the people in Hollywood and try to find out how to do things, and they basically told him to fuck off. So he learned on his own through kind of trial and error, as I did with a little help from my father. But that made him, he said, if somebody comes to me and they want to learn how to do it, I'm going to tell them. And he would tell them in great detail. It wasn't just me that he helped out a great deal of people. But he was just fascinated that there was this kid who had this love for makeup like he did. So Dick is like my second father. And he said, he'd call me anytime you have a question, write me, whatever. So we would correspond. I never was much of a letter writer. We didn't really have the money to call that much, so I would write letters, and he would write back how to do things, and call him occasionally. But he was, there now for me to ask, And the way we first worked together was, Dick was doing The Exorcist, and he had sent me photos of let me go back even farther. After I met Dick Smith, then he was going to be in Westwood in the Veterans Hospital applying the Little Big Man makeup, the old age makeup on Dustin Hoffman for Little Big Man, and said I could come and watch him do that. So I got to sit there and watch him make up Dustin Hoffman in this great old age makeup, and that was just like a really cool day. But when he was doing The Exorcist, he'd sent me photos of these different makeup tests they did for the Linda Blair character, and it was a very different direction than what ended up in the film. And with a makeup like this, a foam rubber appliance makeup, it's a new appliance, a new set of rubber pieces every day that they work. Dick was pretty much a one-man show. I guess he worked in his basement, so he had prepared the stock. If Linda worked 50 days, he would have to make 50 sets of appliances, and he'd prepared all this, was ready to start filming. The first day that the Linda Blair makeup worked, one of the grips said, "Oh, she's got her mask on today," and the director heard that and said, "It's too masky, do another one." And Dick says, "What do you mean it's too masky? Do another one?" It's like this. It's like this took me months to prepare. And it's like, well, we can't shoot this. It looks like a mask. Which it didn't. I actually do think now, in hindsight, he did make the right choice, though, in the direction they went with it. At the time, I was so offended that this makeup artist would question Dick Smith and his ability and what But so it turned out to be fortunate for me, because Dick said, because they were in production, it's going to be very hard for me to do this. And there weren't a lot of people at the time that did this kind of work. And so he called up and said, "Rick, I'm in a bind. I need some help here. And, would you consider coming out and living in my house and working in my lab in the basement and helping me on The Exorcist?" And it's like, "Gee, Dick, I don't know." And I'm packing my bag, taking my underpants out of my drawer, And so I got to, live in the master's house and work in the basement and learn from him. And it was a really, really cool experience, and terrifying too. I had run foam rubber and done stuff like that, but I did it the way that I figured out how to do it. Dick is very meticulous, and he does a certain way. He used a different rubber, a different whole thing, and so he kind of showed me how to do it his way, and then he goes, "Okay, now you do it." And it's like, "Okay, can you leave and just let me know?" "No, I want to watch you and make sure." So every step of the way, "No, you got to hold the thing here." "Oh, okay." It's like, and there were some makeups that there's a scene that ends up in the film where it says "help me" on her stomach, and there's this appliance of her with gaunt ribs and stuff that Dick had sculpted. They decided they wanted that gaunt rib thing, but they wanted that kind of distended stomach people get when we're starving, So Dick wanted me to sculpt the ribs just like he did, but add the big stomach on it. So I was really pleased with the sculpture. I said, I really thought I had sculpted it just like him, and he came and just tore it apart. I was like, well, this isn't the wrong place. This is, this is gonna, But it was all really, really helpful to learn from this guy, It was a great experience. The only application I got to do on The Exorcist was in the sequence in Iraq, Max von Sydow's makeup. And Dick needed somebody to do the hands, basically, when he was doing the face, and just to hold the glue jar. So I got to do that for him. So I got to go to Iraq and help there. But I was mostly just like a lab assistant, somebody who ran the foam rubber and who made molds. And I did a lot of work on the dummy for the head turning around scene. But it was all Dick's work. I was just another pair of hands.